Say that, Pearl. Say that, Pearl.
I think when I get that age, I think I might change my name to Pearl because that's a great name for an old black lady.
Good
Pearl.
one. Girl, mine might be Willie Mae.
Willie Mae and Pearl. Okay,
Willie
so
Mae
you
and
can join
Pearl.
us 20 years from now when Willie Mae and Pearl will be doing read this, read that, you little bitches. You young Turk. You young Turk.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Oh, no, wait.
Wait. A
two.
A one.
A one. Hey, everybody, welcome to Read This, Read That. I am Jackie Reed.
I'm Joanne Reed. It's not right if you don't do the countdown.
They get mad. Know. It just doesn't. It's not a real show. We cannot start without the official countdown.
No.
How are you, my lady?
I am tired. Burnt out.
With good reason, because you have been everywhere, all over. So many. You're doing your own show now. This is week 4. And you've also been doing a lot of publicity. So you have been just everywhere. So you rightfully so exhausted. And as I always tell people, when it comes to you and the way you work, it's not just when we see you that you're working, because you are always 24/7 on the phone, reading things, keeping up with all the things, the big nasty bill, what's going on in the world. Like you're just constantly digesting all of it, which is exhausting.
Yeah. It's emotionally exhausting. It's physically exhausting. And I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm still young and cute, but not as young as I used to be. Yes. But I mean, it is exhausting, but it's like hard not to do it because I'm so Gen X. Yesterday I wore my Gen X t-shirt because I was like, this is how I was feeling on today yesterday. Because I'm so Gen X. Like I am still relatively feral. Like I just never stop, doing things. And I'm very type A. It's very hard for me to relax. And so even when I have time off, I'll be trying to watch like a movie and I'm still also on my phone. And I'm also and it's just, I have to learn how to relax. But that's something you actually have to learn. By the way, people think you can just naturally rest and relax. No, it's a thing you have to learn. And I have not learned to do it.
Yeah, I could write a book on it.
I need to learn from you. And you're so people don't realize that, soror sister cousin friend Jackie Reed is my self-care coach. I mean, literally, she is the friend that will call just to be like, you and Miss Kim are the two people who will call me just to be like, are you okay? And Wanji. I have some friends that literally will just call the sister. I just want to check on you, and I love that. That is like that's my little girlfriend collective. That'll check on me, but I love that you will do that because you'll literally be like, nope, this is a wellness check. You literally call it a wellness check like I'm a shut-in.
Who's on the sick and shut-in list? Joanne Reed. Let me check on her.
Shut-in list. Put me on the list. I mean, seriously, it's a lot. And and it's like it's a startup business, because there's not a network over me anymore. It's us. It's just us. It's our little team. And I did a little count. We had a Zoom meeting today and I counted us and we are 8. It is the 8. The great 8. That is who are doing this little show. And that's less than half of the size of my former team at MSNBC. So it's a lot more work.
It's way fewer than what you had at MSNBC. It takes a lot. I mean, as we are, and this, setting up the business side of Read This, Read That, and really kind of solidifying everything. And we have this private banking team now. And, and I was explaining to them that, for you and I, we have spent our entire professional careers working for other people, being employees. Right. And so it's an adjustment to become an employer basically, and be the boss, be an entrepreneur. It really is an adjustment, and it's hard to wrap your head around. It's intimidating. It's exciting.
Yes.
To be able to, and it's also freeing to know that you can say what you want to say, do what you want to do, wear what you want to wear. Nobody can say, your hair, we don't like your hair, or can you wear this, or don't say this, or don't say that. You can, we can set our own hours and do all those things. But then there's the business side of it, which is, I'm not ashamed to admit, it's very new to me and it's a lot to
Mhm.
learn, but I love that we have this team that is like, we got you. We
Yes.
got you. What? They were like, say less.
And by the way, our team and big up to our fabulous team with a new intern who I just got to meet on our show call. And our interns, they're so hardworking. They put in so many hours just crafting the show. You see the two of us sitting here having fun, but there's a whole team behind us. And let me tell you about Miss Camille. Camille is so great. I literally recruited her yesterday to help me because she is so good on this tech, because
She's
we were
great.
doing this live stream extravaganza, marathon,
Yeah.
multi-stream broadcast like we did with State of the People when we launched that in February. We did
Yeah.
another one when this show is taping. It'll be a few days ago, but we did it on the night that they were debating that big
Stupid, ugly
billionaire
ass
ass
bill.
bill. Yeah, I just call it the big billionaire looting, the BBL.
Yeah.
And they were dating the BBL bill, and just like BBL, it don't come with insurance. Okay, because it's taking away your health insurance. And we did this whole thing, and I was like, I am not gonna be able to figure this out without Camille because she's so good. So we want to big
Yes.
up the Read This, Read That team that you do not see on screen. They are fabulous.
Yeah, and our editor, Anthony,
Yes,
who
Anthony.
is amazing as well. And I mean, yeah, Camille is why the lights are on. I mean, she is just
Yes.
like, we would be sitting here in the dark, just being like, girl, wait,
Listen,
try this, try that. Well, it's not working. And we would
in the
be like
dark.
probably I slam my laptop down. You would turn your camera off and we would go do something else because we both hate tech.
Both of us are tech noobs. We are, and I'm telling
Yeah.
y'all can't see it in here, but I collect old typewriters. The last technology that I believe in and that I think is sound quality are typewriters. And I
Mm,
collect old ones. I have an 1890, I have a 1930, I have a 1940. I think I have two 1940s era. I'm like, that was it. Technology stopped being good after that.
yeah.
Everything else is crap. We fly. These planes are old. They rickety. They can't get out. You sit on the flight for 12 hours waiting to do a 45-minute flight. All this technology that is so miraculous. Phones, they don't barely work, girl. They be freezing. Computers, they be stalling. You have to
Not like the
restart
old
them.
day, girl. You just plug in that brother typewriter.
Come
Girl, in
on.
India was an intern of mine when she was an undergrad at Clark. And girl, when I was at Clark, back in the old day, when I was at Clark, girl, I used to carry my typewriter in, plug it in. Girl, it was something to have your own typewriter, an
Listen,
electric brother
I thought I was
typewriter.
oh, listen, I thought I was the shit. I had my little typewriter. It had a case, and I could take it to the library, plug that joint in, type my little papers, take it where I had to go. I'm with my little typewriter. Thought I was a bad bitch with my typewriter. I could type my little 10-page papers.
Girl.
I thought they were great. And the only issue you had to have is if like the keys got stuck, but you could take a little Q-tip, unstick the keys, you're done. And then if you made a mistake, you had to do a little whiteout, just like doop, do the whiteout.
Remember the
I know
whiteout,
it's
the little
old.
sheet of whiteout? First, they had the liquid whiteout, which you had to
Yes,
take and put on there
so careful
and and dabbed
with
a
the
little bit.
sheet.
If you made a mistake, if you made a so-called typo, you had to get the whiteout, or you'd have to
Yes,
start all over again, girl.
all
And then
over.
they came out with these sheets that you could
Yes,
put
the
in there and
sheets.
just type with the sheet, girl. That was something. But remember when you used to type in shing and put the
And you hear ting, you got the inner line. Okay, wait, can I and now this is the confession I can make to all the popo in Massachusetts. I did when the sheets came out, I did kind of use it to jerry rig to make a fake ID.
I've never
Because the
heard of
IDs
you
were
breaking
white.
the law before, Joyanne.
I know. I made it because I needed to bounce that year a little bit just so I could get, so I could
Where were
get
you
in the
trying
bar.
to go?
I did make a fake ID. I did.
Where were you trying to go with the fake ID?
To the bar.
Oh my
To the
God.
club.
You
It didn't
little
work.
future
As
alcoholic.
as soon as I got to the club, the man looked at ID. He looked at me. He looked at ID. He said, "Come on now." He said, "You know, no, come on now. You know this isn't real." I said, "That's my real ID." He said, "Did you alter this ID?" I said, "No." He said, "Go home. Go back to your dorm." I didn't get in. I
Yeah,
didn't even
girl.
get in.
it's like I could never get away with anything that was illegal. I had no slickness in me when I was at graduate school in Northwestern at Chicago back in the old day. And Scottie Pippen, I can't remember if he was still playing for the Bulls then. I can't remember, but remember how you could call the operator. Remember when operators existed?
Remember
And you could
operators?
call and ask for
Human.
a human. And I called and I was like a number for Scottie Pippen. And the operator said, girl, she was like, man, we're not giving out. We don't give out that number.
What do you think? Remember
She was
when
like,
look now
wow, get out of here.
we sound like a couple Delta Deers on here right now.
Girl,
All the young
I
people like, no.
know.
Yo,
All we're missing are some knitting needles.
we just need, and then we need some glasses, and we need to say,
And a,
listen,
and
let
a
me tell you
spittoon.
about
And a spittoon.
back in the day. Let me tell you how it was. Okay, for y'all young heifers, y'all don't know what y'all
Michael
don't know
Jordan?
nothing.
Remember Michael Jordan, how cute he was?
Michael
And
Jordan
glasses
back
are
in the
perfect
day.
for it.
They don't know. They don't know.
Back in
The
the
other
day.
day, I was looking through some old stuff, and I found the listing for my mother for Philomena's listing in the phone book. Remember the phone book? There used to be a book,
Yes.
young ladies, young sisters, where you would, and they would deliver this book to your house every like year.
For
And it was a
free.
big thing with everybody's phone number in it. You could
Yeah.
find any, as long as you knew their last name, you could look up anybody and just flip through it and get people's phone number. I found a listing with my mother's phone number in it from when we first moved to Denver, like literally sitting right
Really?
there.
Mm.
And that used to be a thing. You could just get a phone book and the white pages and the yellow pages. The
And
yellow
the yellow
pages for
pages for
business
businesses.
and the white for and but the white pages had everyone's phone number in it.
Everybody, girl. I remember looking up my parents' number. That's just crazy. That is crazy. And remember when call waiting came out? Remember you'd be on the
Listen.
line and then the click click, and then you'd be
Yes.
like, hold on, girl. Oh my God.
And look, did you ever get messed up on call waiting? I remember one time I had two people on the phone and they were not friendly. They did not like each other. And I was
You was
going back and
joining?
forward. And I accidentally thought I clicked and went to the other person. And I was with the wrong person. I remember that in
Mm.
high school. I'm like, dang it, you said the wrong, you don't try to bounce back and forth between two people. It
Yeah.
did not work. I mean, call waiting used to get you in trouble
Girl,
because
and
you had to
remember
go
star
back and forth.
69? If somebody called you and hung up, you could do
Yes.
star 69. It'll call them right back and be like, did you just call my
You
number?
just call me because people try to prank call you, and then you could be like star 69, bloop, I called you back. What are you doing
It
calling
was
my
the
phone?
caller ID of old.
Yes. And then caller ID was even better because you would know if it was like a sales call or a scammer because you wouldn't know the number and then you wouldn't have to pick up. But remember, and then the other one was party lines where you would get a bunch of people on the
Yes.
phone, get all your friends on at the same time, and a bunch of you talk on the phone. It was like what a group chat is now. Like there were so
Girl.
many things back in the day that were to me actual innovative technology
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it was mechanical, so it just worked the way it was supposed to work. Now everything is digital, and so it may work and it may not. Computers, they work or
It's
not,
so crazy.
or the internet, it
But
works or not.
it's crazy how young people today look at us and they hear these things that we're talking about and they're like, wow, that seems like it was so long ago. But for us, it doesn't seem that long ago. But then you think about our parents and when they were living was around the time when they were born, was around the time when the movie Sinners was set in, right?
Yes,
The night that and you look at those cars and the way of living, you're
that's
like,
what
that seems
stayed.
like it was, you know, 200 years
It
ago.
does. My mother was born in 1929, same year as Dr. King.
Yeah.
Think about
Wow.
that. She was born in
Yeah.
1929, and I look one time, you do the thing on this year that he was born. When my mother was born, bread was 15 cents in America.
That's so
15 cents.
crazy. Remember when you can get like a bag of candy for like 10 cents?
That's it. It was 10 cents. You could get the little 10-cent candy. And remember the candy man? Y'all don't know this. There used to be a man, and
The
this seems to
candy
me to be
man or the
insanely
candy
dangerous.
lady house.
The candy man used to have a van, and he would drive around town and pull up, and you'd be like, Candy man, and you would just buy candy from this man in a van. Think about how dangerous. See, this is why Gen X people, this is why we are unkillable in some ways, because it's like we were buying van for some random man in a van. We didn't know who that was.
Girl, it's
And
probably kids that grew up with us today that are still missing from
that are still missing. A man drove up in a van and you went, or the ice cream man, between the ice
Yes,
cream man and the candy man, we were buying food stuff that we were putting in our mouths from random ass men.
girl.
We didn't
But
know who
by
they
the
were.
grace
We
of
couldn't
God,
verify.
girl,
We didn't ask to see a certificate of a business
nothing.
organization. We didn't know who they were. We just like, Candyman, and run up and buy candy from that man.
Girl, by the grace of God, we are
By the
here.
grace
By
of
by the grace of the good Lord, girl. What's
Wait, can
your
I tell you
wind
my
down? What you winding down with?
let me
You got
wind down, but before I do that, I do have to say that at one point, the
hmm.
last we saw of the Candyman in Montbello was that some kids bought some stickers from him that you could lick and it was LSD on the back. And we never saw the Candyman again. So anyway, let's move.
What?
LSD. That's how they were getting LS. They were distributing LSD. They were stamps. It was like a postage stamp, and you licked the back, and it had LSD in it. It had
But they
drugs
put
on
it
it.
on a Snickers bar?
No, on a sticker, like a
Oh,
little
I thought you
stamp. It was
said
like
a
a postage.
Snickers. I thought you said a
No, a
Snickers.
postage stamp, and so people were buying postage stamps, and somehow one of the Candyman people had these stickers, and you buy the little sticker, and on the front would be like Snoopy or it was like a kitty, like kid sticker, and it looked like a postage stamp, but on the back, when you lick it, you get high. Let's move on.
And on that note,
And on that note, so my wind down to make it to very, very quick. First, I'm not having wine with my wind down. I'm having coffee. Big up to Enoch Pratt Library. I love a good cup. Whenever I do a speaking engagement, you normally get
mhm.
cute swag. Enoch Pratt Library, where I did one of my Mega and Merly events, gave me this very cute, and I love the color. It's the
I
perfect color.
love that color.
Isn't it fabulous? I love red.
Fabulous.
My wind down is this past week, as you said, I was very busy and I've been doing like all of this media. But what's been really interesting is how much I've discovered about how much our people really actually are denied and want to know global history. Because I always am I frequently will say American audiences don't get international news and really
Yeah.
don't want international news. When I used to do international topics when I was on the readout, those would be the lowest rated segments. We would always rate really high when we talked about Trump. We would rate
Mhm.
really high when we talked about economics. But if we talked about international issues, whether it was Gaza or Ukraine, people were really not feeling that.
Yeah.
What I've discovered in the last couple of weeks is that that is probably a function of the cable news cohort of an audience. Because when I tell you the most response that I've gotten to all the media that I have done, whether it was CNN or The Breakfast Club or Angela Yee's show, is about Iran. That people actually do want this information. They want to know why we're at war with these other countries. And the strangest thing that I've seen happen over the last couple of weeks is this left right agreement on the issue that people do
Crazy.
not want anything to do with being in these foreign wars, and they want to know why we're even in conflict with these other countries. So I see it as, and I don't have a long wind down, but to say what I've really discovered in my exhausting trip around the media world is that we as journalists are doing our audiences a disservice when we don't talk about international issues, because people do want to know. They do want the information, and they do want to know why we're in conflict with these foreign countries and foreign entities. They don't want to just sign up and put a flag pin on and march off to war.
Well, the problem is these media companies, right? It's the organizations that decide now what we're going to cover, right? Because they look at social media, they look at what's trending, they look at what's popping on social media, and they're like, that's what we're going to lean into. These are the stories that we're going to tell. We're going to treat the Bezos wedding like it's the
Oh,
royal wedding, right? That's going to be top. Someone went from an interview with Mamdani, one of the candidates for the mayor of New York, went from an interview with him, transitioned right into a tease about the wedding, like it was the wedding of this century. I want to say it was CNN or something like that. And it was
probably.
just like, you got to be kidding me. So yes, I think it's the media organizations. It's like, as we saw in our day of kind of coming up in this business, it more and more leaned towards entertainment, becoming bleeding into news, and where
Yeah.
these light, a kicker became higher up in the story, a lighter story, and then entertainment became news.
Yeah.
And it's just, and today they don't have time. They don't have time to get to international news, what's going on in the Congo and things like that. And yeah, we hear about Palestine, right? But you would think that that's the only
Right.
situation like that, the only atrocity going on, but it's not. But because of the U.S. involvement and the way it's involved and how political it is and how connected it is to Trump, it gets all this coverage. And, because it involves, Jews in Israel, which, is nowadays, America number one. It
But I
seems
mean, the
like
thing
all these
is,
politicians are so tied to the success of Israel. Someone called on, I don't know if you saw this, I started to text this to you. Someone called Hakeem Jeffries' girl APAC Shakur.
APAC
APAC
Shakur.
Shakur, girl. I said,
I'm sorry, that's
wow.
good. The internet be winning. I'm sorry, but that's pretty good. APAC
I
Shakur.
said, wow.
Damn, that's
Yeah.
savage.
So it's just
Savage.
a matter of, it's the tail wagging the dog, right? People don't know what they're missing. And the news companies are feeding them not only what they think they want, but also what they want them to know about.
Well,
So it's,
and can I just say that
yeah,
this, you're an example of what you're exactly talking about, that people are not getting informed. I love Kristen Welker. She's a sweetheart. She's a lovely human being. I
yeah,
absolutely think she's lovely. But her interview with Zorhan Mamdani was very disappointing to me. 3 questions on whether he condemns a saying that people say at Palestine protests that he's never said himself.
girl.
He was a pro-Palestinian protester in college.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that as a 33-year-old would be the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York, you're demanding 3 times back to back, wasting 14 some odd minutes of your interview, demanding that he condemn that people say globalize the intifada. That has nothing to do with him being mayor of New York
Of
City.
New York
No,
City. But the
no,
same thing happened in the debate with he and Cuomo and a lot of others. He was hammered on this question about whether or not Israel has the right to exist. And I
this
loved
has
his
nothing to do with New
answer.
York.
It has nothing to do with New York, but which is why I loved his answer. But he was on the Stephen Colbert show right before this recent election. And Stephen Colbert was like, do you believe Israel has a right to exist? Why is this a question for the mayor of New York? Why
Mayor
is
of
it
New
a
York
question for any politician in the United States of America? I don't
it
get
has
it. Unless you are
nothing to
equally
do.
asking, does Palestine have a right to exist?
But also,
Right?
you know what? And I wouldn't even ask that, because here's the thing. The mayor of New York City does a lot of things and has control over a lot. One thing they don't have control over is
Yeah.
whether Israel exists or not,
No,
or
but
whether Palestine exists or not.
they
They are
only ask it, they
they
only
don't do
ask
foreign
it
policy.
as a
They don't have
gotcha
any control
question.
over foreign policy.
Right.
They're the mayor of one city.
But to me, it is laughable that these journalists are doing it as if they're having this moment. I'm going to press him on this. When to me, for folks who are in the know, you end up looking like an idiot. Like, why are you asking this question in the way? Like, who are you trying to prove something to? I mean, you should
Right.
you should go back and look at the video of Stephen Colbert asking this question
Well,
and
I've seen it.
leaning in.
I thought he did a great job answering it, but my
I
thing
did
is,
too.
I want to know, what are you going to do for the people of New York City? Now, if he had a history of making really vile, anti-Semitic remarks, or he had a history of being racist, if he was like, I don't know, Donald Trump, but when they get Donald Trump in front of them, no one asks them, do you think you should apologize to the Central Park Five? That's actually about New York. Do
Right.
you think you should apologize for refusing to let Black people live in your buildings when the Nixon administration sue you? What do you think about that? No one ever asked Donald Trump that.
No,
But
but
this guy
here's the
has
thing.
never.
If you're running for the mayor of New York, now you bring up a really great point. I'm so glad you said that, because that is a relevant question even today for those candidates, to ask them, do you think the president of the United States should apologize for that? To me, because it
Correct. Those
shows
are your
whether or not
constituents.
they'll stand up to Donald Trump. And to me, I
Correct.
would want to know, if I still lived in New
That.
York, and I wish I could just so I could vote in this mayoral race, I I would want to know, if I'm electing a mayor, if I'm voting for a mayor, who's going to stand up and not give in to ICE raids and all these things coming into my city.
And
That's
that's
what
what we
I
asked
want
him.
to know.
When we had him on the Joy Reid show, that was what I wanted to know, is
Right.
what would be his plan to stand up to the president when it comes to ICE raids. I wanted to know about, to him to lay out further his plans about creating grocery store access for New Yorkers, lowering the rent of New Yorkers. He
Free
would be the
subway
mayor.
rides, free
This
free
is the stuff.
subway.
Ask him about that, because that's what's relevant to the job he's actually applying for. He's
Girl.
not applying to be Secretary of State. He's not. And by the way, if he had made really ugly anti-Semitic remarks in the past and was racist against Black people or something, then that would be legitimate to ask him, because
But
no
he
one wants the
hasn't.
mayor.
There's no
And he hasn't.
history of that.
He has no history of that. But when Rudy Giuliani, who does have a history with Black people that is hideous, no one ever asked him, do you have an animus against Black people? What is your attitude toward equal rights? No one ever asked Rudy Giuliani, and that was actually relevant to him. Or when Michael Bloomberg was running for president, he should have been asked, do you want to transform stop and frisk, which you implemented in New York, and make it national? You're running for president. No one asked him that. So
no,
I feel like
they're asking about Israel and whether or not you think Israel has a right to exist. I hate that question. I hate when journalists ask it at any point to anyone, because it's a gotcha moment, and it is a question that shows more about the person who's asking rather than the person who's answering the question. It shows more about the influence that they bring to the table as a journalist or as a host, whoever, Stephen Colbert is not a journalist, but as a host, what's your agenda for asking that question? I have such a problem with it.
And I think, and he's not a journalist, so but if you take the journalists in, and I would say that here's my challenge with it. Everyone is asking that question, I believe, because they feel like they have to. Like it's a checkbox. People are checking. They're saying, I have to check this box. But it's like, what?
Who?
I don't know. I've never understood
what I'm saying. There's this agenda that is guiding the way that they are navigating these particular interviews. It's no reason for Stephen Colbert to ask that question. It was no reason during a mayoral debate for New York City to ask that question.
That's what I wanted to know. Well, we now want to hear your wind down, because that was my wind down. But before you tell me that, let me go and close this door, because there is noise outside. One moment.
Girl, I got a whole farm going on with cats meowing and girl, it's a whole thing.
Okay, now I'm a little less noise. Okay, let's do your wind down, my friend.
Well, my wind down as I drink out of my Delta Sigma Theta glass non-alcoholic beverage. This is my Prima Pave, of course. As we gear up we'll be together next week, because we'll both be in DC for the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated National Convention.
And a national convention in the founding city of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, which is very exciting.
I know. It'll be nice to see who the honorary Deltas will be this year, among other things. Who's the new president? So many interesting things going on.
So many.
Nationally. So it'll be good. So my wind down, look at me. I'm like an old lady. I'm looking at my text.
Come on, Delta dear.
Come on, Delta dear. Y'all save me a seat up front.
Look, and then as I fan myself off as I'm having a hot flash.
Girl, you and these flashes. I want to let everybody know we are gearing up for a great special episode, another special episode. We did one on hair, which got a lot of great feedback. You all loved it. So we're going to do another one on perimenopause and menopause coming up soon. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. So my wind down is, so you all know, some of you may not know, but for the first 3 days of every month, I do something called the 3-day wellness reset, where I usually focus on mental health, physical health, and eating right, which of course means eating vegan. So this month, in light of the recent death of the great Ananda Lewis, who lost her battle with breast cancer, and there's been so much conversation around her choices for treatment. She decided early on, she was at stage 3 when she was diagnosed 6 years ago. And her doctors wanted her to have a double mastectomy. She opted to have no surgery and get nothing removed. And she wanted to do a cleanse, if I'm getting it right, to try to remove toxins and things like that. And she tried that approach for a while. And she was going and getting, I want to say, not mammograms, but what is the other thing? Like when you're pregnant.
Like a biopsy?
No. When you're pregnant. No.
Sonogram.
Is it a sonogram? I think it's something like that she was getting monthly, so she could, manage how the tumor was growing or shrinking. And then COVID happened and she wasn't able to do that monthly anymore. And then, when she decided, you know what, it is time to do something different, more conventional treatment. She was very honest about skipping mammograms and not getting, the surgery early on, and realizing that that was a mistake. And I love that she used those final appearances where we saw her on TV to really talk about and educate people on her journey and the choices that she made, and all of those things. But there was a lot of criticism of her. A lot of people praised her, but there was a lot of criticism too. And so I decided for my 3-day wellness reset to just focus on Black women and cancer and treatment and prevention. So by the time this airs on Thursday, I will have done all 3 conversations with women who are cancer survivors. And today was the first one. And when I tell you, it was such a great conversation. An hour was not enough time. My guest was Donna Green Goodman, who this year is her 30th year as a breast cancer survivor.
Wow.
And when she was diagnosed, they gave her 2 to 5 years to live.
Wow.
And her oncologist wanted her to have chemo, radiation, all the conventional things. She opted not to do that. She had one round of radiation. It made her so sick. She said, I'm not doing that. She went to this more unconventional facility in North Georgia and was treated with vitamin D, hydrotherapy, a lot of other things. And she was there for 10 days, and her charts, were much better. The numbers were much better. And so she opted, to change the way she was eating. She, moved into a plant-based diet because she had been working with cancer patients and teaching them how to live a lifestyle to prevent cancer. And then she ended up with cancer because she wasn't practicing what she was teaching. And so she talked about her faith and how that played into her decision, but she was very defensive of Ananda. And we really had a deep dive conversation about Black women and wellness, and how we really have to advocate for ourselves when we go to the doctor. She talked about how she went to several doctors before she landed on the doctor that was the one that she chose. And even that doctor, her oncologist, got mad at her because she wanted to do more unconventional things. And just the way she found out that her doctor was mad at her through a TV interview, that the doctor, it was a whole thing. I'm telling you, it was a fascinating conversation, but I'm so glad that I did this because I was so inspired by the conversations that I kept having about Ananda. And in the comments, we had so many positive comments from, cancer survivors, women that are dealing with cancer now, women that want to avoid cancer. And so it was really an interesting thing. So it'll be on my Instagram. So you can go there and check out all 3 interviews. And I encourage you, because we really talk about prevention as well, to go and check that out. So I'm just so happy to be able to do that work.
I will be eagerly taking a look at it because, as you know, my mother died of metastatic breast cancer at age 57 back in 1986. And, we didn't know that she even had cancer. We just knew she went in the hospital a couple of times. But from what I can piece together, she got a lumpectomy, and then it came back, and she had the lumpectomy probably shortly after. Maybe she had my brother, because I remember her going to the hospital. I have a vague memory of it when I was probably like 12 or 13. She went to the hospital, and we didn't know what it was for, but it looks like that was for the lumpectomy. And she always had this scar on her breast, and I would ask her what it was, and she wouldn't tell me. And then when she was diagnosed again, she had a mastectomy, because I remember her breast just being really, altered, you know what I mean? And sort of mutilated. It didn't even look like they did a careful job. So I knew she had something going on, and we got all these bills that said oncologist. And I looked that up, of course, went and got my dictionary, looked it up, and I was like, ooh, but we didn't realize it was that serious until she passed away. And I think for Black women, what we have to realize, it's much more aggressive in us. I mean, this was who got it in her 40s and died in her 50s. And it metastasized to liver. And so when I saw the Ananda thing, I looked at it as, at first, I probably had the similar attitude as a lot of people, saying when she first heard she had cancer, she should have gone in there and done everything and, take extraordinary measures. That's what I would do. I never miss a mammogram. I've been getting mammograms since the minute I tried to get them at 30. They told me I couldn't. I started getting them at 40, and every year I get them done. And I also have the sonogram on top of it, because I have very small fibrocystic breasts. So my breasts are super lumpy. So doing the self-test doesn't show me anything, because there's nothing but lumps in there. So, and I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. So every month I think I got cancer. Like every month I'm like, I got cancer, because I can feel lumps and nothing but lumps. But it's because I don't have a lot of breast tissue and just have lots of lumps. So it's like, I think you have to me, I have kids. I'm like, and even they're kid adults, but you know them. But I'm like, I try to be aggressive about prevention because not only did my mother die of cancer, I have a cousin that's literally my same age. We all have cousin twins in my family because my mom and her sister were pregnant at the same time 3 times. So I have my lateral cousin June had my older sister June has her lateral cousin, and my younger brother Orrin has his lateral cousin, my cousin Lorraine. So my middle cousin, that's my cousin twin, got cancer. So that's like another
Wow.
alarm bell that went off, but she caught it early. She's in remission and everything worked out, but she also did very aggressive treatment. So to me, I'm like on the aggressive treatment side. So I watched all those Ananda interviews, and I'm thinking to myself, first, you got a 14-year-old child. You should have gone and done everything you could. But I also kind of get it that people like, I don't want to change my whole belief system and lifestyle because of this beast. And so I kind of, the
And
more I
people
watched the
believe
interviews, the more empathy I had for her. Go ahead.
Yeah, people believe that what they're doing is the right thing for them. Just
Yeah.
like Donna, this woman that I interviewed, she didn't take everything her doctor was telling her for face value. She knew because she worked in this field. She
Yeah.
knew from nurses that administer chemotherapy treatment to patients that they tell you if you plan on having children, don't work in here long because it can
Mm.
interfere with your fertility. So
Mm.
she knew how dangerous, and it's there for you if you do the research.
Yeah.
Chemotherapy, like the side effects, and that chemotherapy can cause other cancers in your body. So it's like she
Mm.
weighed everything, and the people that she went to at this facility were licensed, physicians. It wasn't
Right.
just this woo-woo place. They were licensed physicians. They did blood work on her, and in 10 days, her numbers improved drastically. So she knew she was on the right path. But she
Yeah.
also talked a lot. I'm sorry, my dog is behind me doing something. She also talked a lot about the power of prayer. But
Yeah.
she talked about faith without works, how you just can't go in your prayer closet and pray, for things to happen. That you also, she did a lot of research to find the
Mhm.
right doctors and the right treatment for her. And so our conversation was a way to encourage Black women because more of us die, more white women actually get breast cancer,
Hmm.
but more of us die from it because
Interesting.
of late detection, because
Yeah.
of environmental issues that come into play, because of pre-existing other conditions that
Mhm.
interfere with
Mhm.
the cancer,
Mhm.
because we don't get the best care once we
That's
are
right.
diagnosed. That's why we end up actually dying from it.
Yeah.
So it's just, these conversations that I had are just so empowering. So I
Oh,
really
yeah,
encourage
so
everybody
important.
to go and listen to them. And
Yeah.
Donna, she is just like, she is doing the Lord's work, girl. She is
I love that.
amazing when it comes to just being an advocate for patients, because she and her
Yeah.
husband have this wellness center in Huntsville, Alabama, where if you have
Yeah.
any kind of chronic illness that you're trying to overcome, it could be a diabetes, heart disease, anything, you can go to, they do hydrotherapy. She teaches you how to eat a healthier diet. She does a lot of plant-based cooking classes. They teach you how to change your
Now,
lifestyle,
will they
and
do
they
that
do
even
it
if you're
correct.
not a cancer patient? Is it specifically for
No,
cancer patients?
it's for everybody.
Oh, I need to go.
Oh, you have to go. She's up there. It's amazing the work that they do. I'm telling you, we can go together. It's
Let's
a,
go.
it's
Say
amazing.
less.
Yeah,
Say
yeah,
less.
yeah. It's
I am ready to go
amazing.
because that's one of the things that I definitely want to do this year as I'm trying to Jackie Read my life a little bit and try to lean into, because I really enjoy your content that is on wellness. It's really so good and so interesting and so inspiring. And I'm like, I really do need to learn to be more like you. I got to point the right way, more like her. Am I pointing the right way, Camille? And I think it would be fun to do it. We should do it like a little girls thing. And you know what
We
I mean? And I'll
should.
take the daughter. We should come down and
I
we should
love
just
that.
go. Let's do it.
We should absolutely do it, because one of the things we talked about, and you'll find this interesting as a coffee drinker, is, when I was in my 20s, my gyno said to me when I was doing a breast exam that I had some lumps, and caffeine causes lumps in your breast. And
Mm.
Donna had lumps in her breast because of caffeine. She didn't realize until
Uh-huh.
her 30s. And her doctor was like, well, let's just watch. We don't think they're cancerous or anything, but one of those lumps turned cancerous. So that's why
Mm.
I don't drink caffeine. I stopped a long time. Like in my 20s, when they told me that, I was like, I'm done. Um,
Interesting.
so she talks a lot about, there's a lot of lifestyle things. She said anything, she said, read the labels. Alcohol, it says on the label that it is a carcinogen, right?
Mm.
But we have to balance that whole, well, I deserve a good life. I deserve to turn up. I deserve with how how long do you want to live and how well do you want to live while you're here?
Right.
I want to grow old, but I also don't want to be a burden to anyone. I want to be as independent as possible. I want to be able to go up and down stairs. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I don't want to have pain in my back and my knees
Yeah.
and my, and all those things. I don't want to have swollen ankles.
Yeah.
I recently went to a high school reunion and I love my classmates, but a lot of, I don't want to say all of them, I'm not naming names, but a lot of them that I had conversations with are on medication. I'm not on any medication,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
one thing, you know,
Yeah.
except for the love of God, girl. I take
Except for
that
the love of Jesus.
every day,
My
every day.
medication is Jesus. And that's all I need.
Come
I
on,
take him in the morning and I take some Jesus in the evening.
come
And that's
on.
all I need. Hallelujah. Oh, Rabatini, Rabakini,
Yabba dabba
Rabak.
do.
Shabadabadu.
That
All
is
right,
my
let's
wife
move on to
down.
our hot topics.
Girl, we want to stop our
Because,
shit you need to know
yeah,
because
oh,
we
yes,
did
let's
a
do that.
great show on Monday about this big nasty ass bill. I know you like to call it the BBL, which at the time we're recording this on Tuesday has passed in the Senate. Now it does have to go back to the House because the Senate made some changes, but once it goes to the House, if it passes there as is, then it will go to Donald Trump, who wants to try to sign it on Friday, which is the 4th of
Mhm.
July, which, girl, I'm
Yeah,
wearing black on. People are asking me what I'm doing for the 4th. Girl, nothing.
nothing,
Nothing. Juneteenth was my holiday. The 4th, nothing.
nothing.
I'll be wearing black. But let me just say this because I want you to kind of give us some perspective on this. So the winners of what has passed with the Senate changes are the rich people because of tax cuts.
Big time.
Um, non-electric car makers, hello jab at Elon Musk. Workers who receive tips, no tax for them. That's a I that's one small thing. But the losers are food stamp recipients, SNAP. There's big cuts to that. Medicaid recipients, big cuts to that. And another jab at our Elon Musk. I love this. No tax credits for electrical vehicles. Girl, and the girls are fighting, as our friend Don Lemon would say, because girl, Elon said that anybody that voted for this bill, and he was talking to the Republicans, he was going to fund the campaigns for their opponents. Donald Trump came back and said, "Okay, Elon, let me raise you by cutting off all the government funding, right? All the financial aid you've been getting, all that you would not
Mm,
be a billionaire without this financial aid from the US government. Hello, our tax dollars,
mm,
investing in Elon Musk and all his businesses." And Donald Trump suggested, you know how he does, because it's all
mm.
on social media, on his Truth Social, that he might be thinking about deporting old Elon. So they're fighting. But yeah, girl, it's passed in the Senate, and likely, I'm sure that they have the votes in the House, and they're a bunch of cowards, the Republicans, and some of the Democrats. I can't with them. So it'll probably be ready for signing on Friday, right?
I'm assuming yes. I mean, there are some of the far right wing Tea Party Congress people are complaining about the level of debt in the bill, and they're pissed off about that because the bill isn't cruel enough as far as they're concerned. People like Chip Roy, the guy who was in favor of bringing back lynching, hanging in the state of Texas, that guy, the guy who patted, I think he might be the one that patted, what's his name, Byron Donalds on the head and nominated him to be speaker, pretended to nominate him to be speaker just because Hakeem Jeffries was nominated and they needed their own black. That dude,
Mm.
he's pissed off and leading the charge on the ones who are saying they're against the bill in the House because of the changes the Senate made. So the House passed a version of the bill that is basically like straight up walk poor people like a dog on a leash, kick granny over a cliff, destroy farmers, wreck the poor, kick the poor in the teeth, and then don't send them to the dentist. Like, it were horrible. Then the Senate added some other bullshit on it. Now it's coming back. I mean, we're talking about literally, cutting maybe 830,000 people's Medicaid. I mean, or I shouldn't say 830,000. Sorry. But let me get the actual number. They're
Yeah.
talking about the most radical cuts to Medicaid in history. I mean, it's a 40-year drastic cut to Medicaid recipients. So I think it was like 93,000 people in the first few months of the bill. I'm going to get the exact numbers, but this bill would actually gut Medicaid. And what they're doing is there are only a few places that you can get a lot of money in order to try to shore up the $3 trillion hole that this bill is putting in our debt. So we're going to go $3 trillion in the hole because they are making Trump's 2017 tax cuts permanent. And by making them permanent, you blow this big hole in the deficit. So the first attempt to try to fill that hole in was Elon Musk claiming that Doge, his little hacker kids, were going to find $2 trillion in savings in the budget, and that those $2 trillion in savings would offset the bill. Well, come to find out, he could only find like 100 million in savings. They didn't really find a lot of, because it really isn't that much waste, fraud, and abuse. It just isn't there. And then they wound up firing a bunch of people, like the people who run our nuclear weapons, and they had to be like, oh, no, please come back. They fired everybody. They got rid of all these people at the VA. Then they had to hire some of them back because it went to court. So in the end, all that Doge drama and harming, ending essentially USA, they kind of got rid of Voice of America. They gutted all of that, gutted the State Department, gutted everything. That adds up to a savings of, maybe 100 billion. That's a lot of money, but it's nothing like $2 trillion. So they weren't really having, they're not really having the success they needed to in filling the budget gap. And there are a couple of big agencies, big federal entities that have a lot of money in them. And one of them is Medicaid, because Medicaid is this giant block grant that the federal government gives to the states to pay for poor people's health care. That's a big source of potential money. So they decided to just gut it and just sweep money out of there to take money out of Medicaid to basically try to fill in this big tax cut hole, because they can't do it to Social Security, which is the biggest, and they don't want to do defense. In fact, they raised the defense budget because defense is the other place you could get the money, but they don't want to get it from defense. They've actually added to the defense budget. They want to build more warships, which of course they're probably going to name after Confederate generals or maybe Nazi generals at this point.
They'll probably be the USS Hitler.
The USS Hitler, the USS Himmler, the USS the USS Goering will be out on this field because they can't have a Medgar Evers or a, Harvey Milk, God forbid. They got to have some Hitler names or whatever. And then on top of that, so they added to the defense budget. Then they also added to the ICE budget, like dramatically increased the budget for ICE, because the main thing they want is the military and ICE to just deport a lot of Mexicans, a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Hondurans,
and eventually Black people
and Haitians, right, and Blacks, and eventually maybe deport some American citizens. This new proposal to deport to denaturalize Americans, take away your citizenship if you've committed any crime, and then ship you out of the country. It's literally ethnic cleansing. So that's what this budget will pay for. Plus, it gives Trump unprecedented power to defy judges. So this bill is an abomination. It's bad. And mostly the people who are going to get hurt are old people, people who are poor, people who rely on Medicaid for their health care, anyone who gets SNAP. They're gutting SNAP. Like, they're just ripping the guts out of SNAP. They're ripping the guts out of school lunch meals that kids get for free in communities where they need food. They're taking food from children. It's literally destroying old people, poor people, immigrants, seniors, and everyone else, to try to give Jeff Bezos and them a tax cut. And it's an enormous tax cut.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm trying to hold on to hope here and trying to, try to stay informed so that when there's something that can be done, like voting or raising my voice, calling, an elected official, that there's something, to do. But I just wish that there was better leadership, particularly in the Black community. I love, there's some organizing thing going. We're going to talk about Target Fast in a minute. But I feel like I'm so disappointed with the Democratic Party and their lack of effective leadership with all of this. It's like they're just sitting back and letting it happen. And a lot of it is because they're so busy playing politics and trying to keep their jobs and try to take, go high and take the high road and, this I just can't. I'm
And
tired
let
of
me
it.
go ahead and give you guys the numbers. I wanted to really quickly, I didn't want to be inaccurate.
Mhm.
So it is not 900 billion they're cutting out of Medicaid. It's $863 billion over 10 years. $863 billion. And
Mhm.
they're mainly doing that by restricting eligibility with very harsh work requirements for certain adults. They're basically saying, even if you're disabled, if you have, your kids don't have time for that, you have to go to work for your Medicaid, essentially making it sort of a minimal slave pay. There's so $863 billion coming out of Medicaid in order to pay for rich people to get a massive, massive tax cut.
And that is the perfect segue to go into, speaking of rich people, let's talk about the Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez wedding in Venice, which the people of Venice did not want. They
Did
already
not.
have a tourism problem causing major environmental issues. That's a problem for me. And now, because they've gone there and shined such a light on it, more people are going to want to go there. But what was disappointing is that as the employees of Amazon, continue to fight for better wages, better work conditions, better treatment, their boss, thanks to those who have been shopping at Amazon, because yes, it's been a great thing for so many years, but now we are waking up to what's really going on behind the scenes of this man Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon as well as Washington Post. So cancel that subscription. But $50 million on
52.
this 52 million on this wedding.
Just
And
10 million alone for the ring. Lauren Sanchez's ring was 10
with
million.
$10 million. I mean, people will never even see that in a lifetime. It is
Lifetime.
crazy. But a lot of people are criticizing, who went to the wedding? Oprah Winfrey. Come on,
Usher.
girl. Gail King. There they
Gayle
are,
King.
because
Mhm.
Venice is surrounded by water. So they're getting on and off of boats, going here and there. Um, they look cute. I love the hair. I love the
With the
dresses,
open
but
little snatch waist.
I'm just so disappointed.
Mhm.
Of course, the Kardashians were there.
Of course.
Leonardo DiCaprio, who is
Mm.
you would think such an environmentalist, such a stand up
Humanitarian.
guy. I
Yep.
was surprised that Leonardo went to
Don't
this
forget Ivanka Trump. Ivanka Trump was
conference.
there partying with her
Yeah,
Kardashian friends who all had fresh new surgeries to their ever-changing faces.
don't be nasty.
Sorry.
Don't be nasty, Joanne Reed.
Sorry.
Yeah, he said sorry. Yeah, it really is unfortunate. And let me just mention this, because you love fashion too, but I girl, Vogue, red carpets, like that's my, when there's a red carpet, I'm like 5 o'clock in the
Yes.
afternoon. I'm there with my popcorn,
Yes.
seeing who's gonna walk. Anna Wintour, editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine,
Get
has
the fan
stepped
out.
down. And let me tell you why I'm saying this. Get your fan out. Because there is a rumor. This has not been confirmed by me, but this is Lauren Sanchez, Bezos now, the
Mhm.
bride and all that we've been talking about. It is rumored that Anna stepped down because it was very abrupt because of this cover, and that she did not want this. I don't know if this is true. But the brother who was over British Vogue is now stepping in to Anna Wintour's shoes. And she's not going away. She'll still be very visible at Condé Nast. It's like she's just going to a more executive role. She won't be as hands-on with
Right.
Vogue. She'll still keep an eye on it. But the editorial decision will not be hers. She'll
Well,
still be
remember.
involved in the Met Gala, but not
Yeah.
as
Well,
heavy.
I was just gonna say, because I still have our goal is to get to the Met Gala, Source
Yes,
Sister Cousin Fran. But
yes.
listen, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're much more versed in this than me, that she stood in the way of Kim Kardashian being on the cover of Vogue for years and years until she made some sort of detente with Kanye West when he was married to Kanye. She's kept Melania Trump off the cover of Vogue, and something that really pisses Trump off
Yeah.
because she despises Donald Trump and will not put Melania on the cover. So this leads me to believe if she's leaving because they don't want to celebrate the queen of Amazon, who basically apparently has deleted most of her social media because she's getting savaged so much for flaunting this $52 million wedding when people are literally being ripped off of Medicaid, and when you're probably going to see a lot of Amazon employees have to go on welfare because they're paid so little, worked so hard.
Girl, some of them, some of the Amazon workers said that they could not take proper bathroom breaks and they would pee in bottles.
They can't take a break because
they can't take
it's like a
breaks.
sweatshop. It's like a sweatshop. And the
That's some of the
reality is
complaints
that
that
I have
they've made.
I have cousins that have worked for Amazon. It's a sweatshop. And the reality is that this is a new Gilded Age. I think CBS did a piece on whether or not this wedding shows that we're in a new Gilded Age. Yes, we're in a new Gilded Age. The super rich run the United States directly. Elon Musk purchased the presidency for Donald Trump. Now the two girls are fighting, but they're still both going to enjoy a massive tax cut. Donald Trump is out here hawking gold color phones and $250 bottles of Trump cologne to his idiot supporters who are probably going to spend their last $250 on it.
And don't forget about his Trump coin. Don't forget about the Trump coin.
And his broke ass followers are going to be out here spending their last little welfare checks on Trump phones and gold coins and Trump phones so they can smell like Donald Trump. No, if you wanted to smell like Donald Trump, poop in a diaper. He's wearing a diaper. That's what he smells like. Diaper poop.
Spray tan and diaper poop. Spray tan, cheap spray tan and diaper poop, because whoever's doing that tan, that orange tan, how is this man in the White House? I can't. But let me say this about Anna Wintour. She all but banned Donald Trump from the Met Gala. He's very pissed about that. He wanted to go. She, years ago, would not grant him access because that invitation list is tight. And she would say who could come and would not allow him to come to that. I don't know about the Kardashians. They definitely are all
they go now. Yeah. Look, if Trump and his disgusting little gangland clan, if I see Eric Trump and Don Jr. and whatever, froze face chick he's dating at the time, if I ever see the Trumps at the Met Gala is over. I'm just announcing that right now on Read This, Read That. And you know how they said like certain slang ends when non-cool people start using it and it becomes too common? If the Trumps, and I'm just going to announce this right now, record this for posterity. If the Trumps ever turn up at the Met Gala, that will signal the end of the Met Gala. The Met Gala will no longer be cool, just like now that the Trumps are the Kennedy Center. Sorry, the Kennedy Center not cool no more. Now that J.D. Vance and little Usha are in there smiling and waving while they get booed in a half-empty room, they have ended the Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center is whack now. It's just, I would never buy a season ticket. Why would you ever want to be in the room with these horrible people? These are nasty, vile people.
You know what else is whack right now? The White House being the president of the United States. International has lost its cachet. It is no longer something that's seen as regal or anything at all. It's trash. He's ruined what it is to be the president of the United States.
If that is the president, and look, by the way, and you can see it in the numbers, tourism to America has plummeted. Everything Trump touches dies. Tesla's value has plummeted because not of any other reason other than Elon Musk's association with Trump. Yes, you MAGA people love him and his fans love him, but you're the only ones. You're alone in that. The rest of the world laughs at him, mocks him. Did y'all see the Queen of the Netherlands clowning Trump?
Girl, how funny was that?
Camera.
What? We'll have to put that in here, Camille. We have to put that where she mocked him, where he said something to her and she turned away and went.
I stand a real queen. That's how the rest of the world feels about your boy, y'all MAGA people.
Joke, and we're a joke.
But it's just you. No one else can stand him. The rest of the world rolls their eyes at him like the Canada premier did. Like all these other ministers, like every time you see poor Zelensky be rolling his eyes when Trump looks away, and Putin even mocks him. Putin mocks him. Xi Jinping in China mocks him. The only person who digs Trump is Netanyahu because he is Trump. So, just the autocrats love Trump, but the rest of them,
I don't even think Netanyahu loves him. I think Netanyahu thinks he's an idiot and is just using him for his game. I don't think he respects him.
No.
I think he plays games. Netanyahu is a clown and a crook and a criminal. He should be arrested.
But so is Netanyahu. They're both criminals.
That's what I said. Netanyahu is a that's what I was talking about. Yeah. They're great bedfellows. Ooh, Camille, you're gonna
Perfect.
break your finger. Okay,
But she's gonna
let's
break her
move
finger. But yes, by the way, I want you to save this, Camille. Save it for posterity. If
on.
them Trumps turn up at the Met, it's because Anna Winter has been dethroned, and the Met Gala will be officially done. No one will. It will no longer be a thing.
I can
Just
tell you,
saying.
with Lauren Sanchez being on the cover of Vogue,
That
I
done.
predict that come
Ivanka,
Met Gala time,
Melania. Melania's
come
next.
the first Monday in May,
Melania.
the Trumps and the JD Vances, they will be at the Met Gala. And Melania, clock it, before the end of this
Clock it.
year, will probably be on the cover of Vogue.
You know that's gonna happen. There's
Yeah,
because his purpose in being president is all personal and wealth. It's about his wealth. He wants to be a billionaire, and he wants popular culture to bow down to him. He wants
right.
popular culture. He wants Hollywood to get on its knees. He wants everyone to praise him, and he wants to be on the covers of the New York Times and Vogue. And he wants his wife on the cover of Vogue. He wants all of the media to celebrate him and kiss his ass. That's all he cares about. There's no other purpose for him in public life. So watch it, clock it. You're absolutely right. They will put all of these trashy people on the cover of Vogue, and then all of a sudden Vogue will lose its glamour. It will lose its cachet, just like the
Mhm.
White House has.
Yep, surely, sure thing.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about the Essence Festival. By the
Yes.
time this comes out, people will be heading on down to New Orleans, one of your favorite cities.
Yes.
And there's a lot of controversy over Target being one of the major sponsors, is not the key sponsor. That's Coca-Cola
Mhm.
of Essence Fest. And what Essence is saying, excuse me, oh, I got a burp. Come on now, come on out, come on
Come
out.
on.
Come on now. Wait, I
You got to burp yourself like a baby.
hurt myself. It went away. Um, what they're saying is this was a multi-year contract. And so they couldn't just, it wasn't something that was made new after Target dropped its DEI initiatives. That this is what Essence is saying. And so therefore, our people, Nina Turner, Jamal Bryant, and why am I
Tamika
forgetting?
Mallory.
Yeah,
Tamika
Tamika
Mallory.
Mallory. That's my girl. Wow, my brain
Yeah,
girl. Charges to my head, not my heart.
that's
Um,
it.
are put out, a press release talking about how when you go to Essence this weekend, do not go and buy a thing from that Target pop-up store. Don't stand in that line. It's usually a line down the hall of people trying to get in there because they feel like, oh, they're going to get something special. No, you're not. They're encouraging us to boycott while we're down there and do not support them. And I thought it was interesting that Tamika and Nina and Jamal all said that this is not a critique on Essence. This is all about Target. And so they're laser focusing on that. And I hope that Black people will abide by that. We have done a beautiful thing by boycotting Target in the way that we have and not going there. There's some folks that still slide in there. They didn't get the memo, or they
Mhm.
just don't understand collectively what we can do with our buying power that is in the trillions. Well, 2 trillion, but that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But, I hope that collectively, it started with Target. Now we're doing Dollar General. And I hope that we can learn from this how to move. We don't have to agree on everything, right? But when it comes to our economics and what we decide to boycott and what we decide to support, we need to learn how to move together because other, groups move like that and they get things done. And
Yes.
we don't have to all get along and like each other, but we need to have one mind. What is it? One band, one sound.
One
We need
band, one sound.
one
One
band,
band, one
one sound.
sound.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, we could get so much further. When I read that story about gentrification and how 500 neighborhoods in the United States that used to be predominantly Black are no longer that. And the political power that we have lost being moved out of these neighborhoods from Atlanta, just
Altadena,
all over.
California.
Yeah, all over. And it just bothers me that we just have, as a people, no strategy. It's by design, right? They set us up that way from slavery on. It was hard for us to organize, but it's been too long. We've got to learn a better way. And what Nina and Tamika and Jamal Bryant are doing, that to me is a light at the end of a very dark tunnel. What they're doing is impactful. And to me, I want to see more from them when it comes to leadership.
Agreed.
So I hope people abide by this when they head down to New Orleans. Have fun,
Enjoy. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, and the reality is Target is trying to buy its way back into the good graces of Black people, giving $300,000 to the National
come
Baptist
on.
Convention, and shame on the National Baptist Convention for accepting that. If you are a member of a Baptist church, you should ask your pastor why is that happening, and they
Yeah,
should object and not take any Target money. Not all money is good money. And the idea that the Baptists will be, and they're not the only one. I'm not going to name too many names, but the reality is a lot of our organizations, including some of our civil rights organizations, take money from Target. And
yeah,
that is counterfactual when it comes to supporting the very communities that they represent. The
yeah.
reality is, if your constituency is Black folks, you should not be taking money from Target. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people are like, but I have scholarship funds that come through them and that money is there. And how do I replace it? Figure it out.
Find another
We're
way.
brilliant people. Find some other way. I had this conversation with the leader of one of our major civil rights organizations, and I said, "You got to find some other money." And
Yeah.
they said, "Well, if I started saying no to Target's money, I have to say no to all of the money of people who are against DEI." And I said, "Exactly,
Well, you have to do that.
exactly.
We have to stand on principle. We have to
We
find
must do."
another way. One
There
band,
has to
one
be
sound,
other
man. Come
people.
on.
One
It's
band,
the
one sound.
only
And they know they can break us. If they know they can split
yes.
us up and
Yep.
give money to the Baptists over here and give money to that one over
Thank
there
you.
and slide some money to this one, they're never going to respect us because they know that they can pay off some of us. And the last thing I will throw in, because you mentioned the Congo and all this stuff, you know how Trump is getting the Congo and getting a Congolese reporter to praise him? They're cutting supposedly a peace deal between Rwanda and the Congo. There've been something like 20-year civil war. He's trying to get a Nobel Peace Prize by negotiating a U.S. negotiated peace deal. Do you know what Congo has to give up in exchange for that?
Mm,
Mineral rights. There, he's essentially getting Tshisekedi, who's the current president of DRC, at least in theory, and I don't know if this deal is really happening. If this deal goes through, Tshisekedi will be selling out the Congo exactly the way Mobutu Sese Seko did, essentially saying, take our mineral rights, probably for nothing, pennies on the dollar,
mm,
in order to get a peace deal so Trump can say that he's a peacemaker and get a Nobel Prize. The way they buy off Black people is with money. And that's how we got taken as slaves in the first place, not standing together as tribes. We would let this one tribe
yep.
sell people from the other tribe, and they go to the other tribe and say, sell people from your tribe. That's how they caught us in the first place.
Yep.
So we
You're
have to stop.
absolutely right. We have to stop. We have to
Stop.
it really. Oh, girl.
It's,
And,
it's
with
exhausting.
Rwanda, that's one of the places where they are deporting people to these
Too.
prisons. And
Yes.
who you think they're going to be
And
sending
South
to
Sudan.
Rwanda?
So you're getting Black countries like South Sudan and
Yep,
Rwanda to agree to be paid off to buy Black and brown people. Again, do you not see the slave analogy? You, as a Black country, should not be purchasing American prisoners to put in your prisons, essentially to
right,
use as slave labor. I'm assuming we are back
right.
to the slavery era, and there are people on the right that want that slavery era back, and some of us that look like us are
Yeah.
giving it to them.
Yep. Amen to that. Well, listen,
Don't
there's
get
so
us
much I
started.
came up with. I know. Listen, Bernie is like,
Even
amen.
Bernie said, yeah. Bernie said,
Exclamation
yeah.
point. Yes. Yes.
Bernie's amening us. Bernie said, exactly.
Bernie,
And
stop.
you know
Right.
what Nala has to say to all that?
What? I wish. Stop. Girl,
He over here laid
I
out.
ran out of his medication. It doesn't arrive until tomorrow from Chewy. I'm like, come on,
Come
Chewy.
on, Chewy.
Now, I just want to, because we're out of time, but I just want to make an honorable mention before we go. And
Yes.
that's some Black Girl Magic reunions. The cast of Girlfriends, all the ladies got together for a hair commercial for Tracy Ellis Ross's Pattern Beauty Company, her hair company. So they all reunited. We'll try to we'll put a link to it so you can see it if you haven't seen it already. And
Yes.
then Brandy and Monica. The
Yes.
Boy Is Mine tour is finally happening.
Not yours. He's
Not but
mine. Not
mine.
yours. He's
He's
mine.
mine. But
Yes.
they've been
That's
doing interviews and I've loved seeing them together and
awesome.
really it's like they're kind of getting to know each other. During the pandemic, they did one of those verses things.
Yes.
And you could tell that they really kind of like we want everybody to be friends and be
Right.
cool, but in real life it's just not like that, not for
No.
any particular reason. But
No.
they were saying in one of their interviews that the record company or someone kind of pitted them
Of
against each
course.
other, kind of like for marketing. But now they have an opportunity to do this tour their way. Kelly Rowland is also going to be a part of that tour, and some others. I can't think of who else is going to be there, but just wanted to talk about those Black Girl Magic reunions going on. So some
I will be getting those tickets. I will be copping those tickets because I missed Grace Jones was recently on tour. I missed that. I'm like, I've missed the Beyonce tour, but I'm going to make sure that we get to that show. Absolutely.
Yes. And with that, we are going to come to the end of another episode of Read This, Read That.
Read that, yeah. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Make sure that everyone can become a cousin and support this show. So go on, tick that like button. Do not be a lurker, be a liker. Like this show, subscribe. Please subscribe because we want to make sure you never miss an episode. And also, you want to live well and you want to live fabulous. So you're going to want to support all of the things Jackie Reed is putting together.
Yes.
Of course, vegan, sexy, cool. Yes. Because why be just vegan when you can also be sexy and cool? Why would you want to be one without the other two? It makes no sense at all. So you want to support vegansexycool.com. It is on Substack. It is worth subscribing, even if you are not yet vegan, as she likes to call those of us who are pre-vegan. Yes. You're not there yet, but you might want to get some great recipes, some great ideas. She's just going to give you great live well techniques. You can get that. You can also support the Jackie Reed experience, where you get even more Jackie Reed, fabulous interviews, incredible content. You're going to want that as well. And you can also support Miss Jackie Reed all over the socials, on IG, on all of the things, but please support all of the things that Jackie's doing, because my cousin sister soul friend is pretty fabulous, if you ask me.
A boop boop. Thank you, sister cousin soror friend. And right back at you. Please, if you go to joyandreed.com, you can find all the things, because she is everywhere. Doing the Lord's work, as I like to say.
Come on, Jesus.
Informing us, doing all her interviews. Please support Joyanne, because we are trying to get her to 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I say by the end of July. Let's see if how close we can get to that. So please go there to the Joyanne Reed Show on YouTube. Follow the Joyanne Reed Show separate from her account that she has now on all the platforms, so that we can show that support and that love for the important work that she is doing, because legacy media it's over. And so independent media is really where you're going to have to go to get accurate, non-compromised information. And that's the work that Joyanne is doing over on the Joy Reid Show. And so you definitely want to support that. We have to support our independent journalists that are doing the Lord's work out here, child. Tell the truth.
Come on, Ruth. Tell the truth, Rufus. Come on, Rufus. And we'll be back here next week, because we got to talk about that menopause.
All right. Yeah. Say that, Pearl. Say that, Pearl.
I think when I get that age, I think I might change my name to Pearl, because that's a great name for an old black lady.
Good Pearl. Girl, mine might be Willie Mae.
Willie Mae and Pearl. Okay, Willie so you can join us 20 years from now when Willie Mae and Pearl will be doing Read This, Read That, you little bitches. You young Turk. You young Turk. Because you get ornery and mean when you get old.
You do. It's so true, girl. Oh my God. Because people give you grace to just say what you want to say and do it how you want to do it.
Amen.
Child, listen.
All right, Willie Mae. I'll see you next week.
All right, Pearl, girl. You get them prunes now. You get some prunes. So you can stay
regular. Put my teeth in and see if I can suck on them. Let's see what we can do.
You and that fan, child, and me and these sliding glasses. I got to go get these things fixed. Like, what is happening? All right, y'all. We will see you next week. Have a great week. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.